Hi everyone, Erev Tov, buenos dias, buenos tardes, wherever you're from, whatever time zone you're in. My name is Caroline Wagner. I'm the plastics campaign lead here at Greenpeace Israel. Welcome everybody to our webinar Wednesdays. Hopefully you've been tuning into a lot of these now. So we've had a range of fascinating speakers. This webinar will be in English, but we've had the majority of our webinars in Hebrew. We had a really great medical discussion regarding plastics and health. Then we also had a wildlife photographer talking about photographing in the wildlife and finding plastic in the Arctic, which was great. We also talked with Miki Khaimovich. She's a member of parliament in the Knesset, talking about plastics in the politics and how we can get some legislation going. So we've had really interesting discussions. And this week, actually, in English, I've invited Tatiana from Greenpeace Colombia, actually, to talk to us about what they've been doing in Colombia regarding their plastic legislation. They've had some really interesting activities. So hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. So perhaps, as you know, at Greenpeace Israel, we have a new plastics campaign. So our plastics campaign is called Echad Pami Ze Lo Tevi. So in Hebrew, that translates to one-time use plastic is unnatural. And of course, we are calling to the Ministry of Environmental Protection, so Gila Gamiel, to follow the European directive and to ban single-use plastics. So I think it's about time that Israel also follows these legislations. It's about time we move forward and we handle this plastic pollution. So if you want to support us, then please sign the petition. We've linked it down below, and you can find it on our website and on our Facebook. So if you support that legislation, then let us know, and please sign the petition. Great. So moving on to today's webinar, I want to invite Tatiana, and before that, I just want to talk about some really interesting plastic facts. I always like to set some background to what we're going to talk about. So of course, we're going to talk about plastic, and I just wanted to mention that, one truckload of plastic enters the ocean every single minute, which is just crazy to think. And all of that plastic that lands in the ocean, that doesn't disintegrate. So it turns to microplastic. It breaks down into smaller pieces of plastic, which obviously then contaminates the soil, the oceans, the land, and even the air we breathe, and even the food. So there's been a research that says every week, we humans consume 1 credit card worth of plastic each week, which is crazy. It's the credit card size of plastic. And also, we need to think where plastic comes from. It's not just where it goes. So 99% of plastic is made from fossil fuels. So that means from, oil is the majority producer, which is not good for the environment. So, we need to think about where it came from, how we use the plastic, and then how we dispose of it. So when I talked with plastics campaigner from Greenpeace Africa, we talked about recycling, and some of that plastic gets exported. So recycling is really not the solution. It's perhaps a band-aid solution, but really we need to tackle the plastic problem at its core. And that means switching from a single-use plastic usage to a multiple reuse and refillable mindset. So that's why I'd really like to invite Tatiana today. She's talking about the plastic campaign and legislations that you've been trying to introduce into Colombia. So hi, Tatiana. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And I guess I hand it over to you now. You'll be presenting something, and you'll be showing us a few videos, hopefully, and then we'll just have a discussion. If anyone has any questions, then please drop a comment below, and then we'll answer that. So thank you, Tatiana. Muchas gracias. And I pass it to you in Colombia.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if you already see it.
Great. Thank you so much.
So it's good to be with you in this webinar, and thank you for your participation and connection. As Caroline mentioned, I am Tatiana. You can call me Tati, and I'm the Greenpeace campaigner in Colombia. And it's very a pleasure to introduce you my country and also all the plastic campaigns that we have been doing in this country. So Greenpeace Colombia is part of everything that we call Greenpeace Andino and has been operating for about 11 years. We are called Andino because together with Argentina, Chile, and also Colombia share the Andes Mountains. I don't know if you know them, but they are a very important ecosystem here in Latin America. So that's why we called us Greenpeace Andino. Although we are a small office, we have known by our passion and also to protect and take care of our biodiversity. Here are some data from our office. Our partners and followers have grown gradually over this year, and we hope it will continue to do so. As for volunteering, we only have one group here in Bogota because all the small office is very small, so we have to control it. But they are very professional in what they are doing, and they have a passion for 100,000 of volunteers. So it's great to have them. We have achieved also 2 important victories. One was last year, and it is about the law that prohibits asbestos in Colombia, in our country. That is a particle that can cause lung cancer, and it was very important for us because it was about 3 years that we have doing this campaign, so it was very important for us. And the other one is about to protect one of the most representative ecosystem here in Colombia, which is páramos. So since we are contextualized, I'm going to tell you more about our plastic campaign and the phases and the activities that we have been developed for 2 years. Our plastic campaign called Single-Use Plastic, Mejor Sin Plásticos. It was the first stage. And well, what is happening in Colombia so that we can carry out a plastic campaign? We made an investigation and we found that Colombia is both as a huge producer and consumer of single-use plastic in Latin America. For example, some data that we found from 2018 shows that 90,000 tons of plastic bags were produced only in 1 year. 2,000 tons of straws were produced, and 23,000 tons of caps only produced in 1 year. So it is a huge amount of single-use plastics. In terms of the plastic industry, the growth was 2.5% over the previous year. And also we saw that percentage would increase in the 2019, and obviously with this pandemic situation, the numbers will grow extremely by this 2020. So it is important that fact. Another fact is waste. The data shows us that Colombians generates 24 kilograms per year, which represent that you can make an estimate on how much waste one person can make in his life if he or she can live 70 years, the media. So for that number, 24 kilograms per person and per year, 56%, it's only for single-use plastics. More than a half of the waste, it's only for single-use plastics. That's an important data. So yes, another factor is that only 70% here in Colombia is recycled. Then that means that the 83% of recycling is going to our oceans, our rivers, our streets, and the beaches. So that's why all the reasons that we consider relevant to make a campaign and also to promote the law to ban single-use plastics by 2025. Another important thing is we wanted to expose all the actors in the chain, from governments to consumers, going through producers, retailers, restaurants, and so on. So we know that the problem of plastics is a shared responsibility, and we wanted to expose that. So in 2018, we started our campaign called Better Without Plastics, Mejor Sin Plásticos, where our target was the environmental minister, because a law, as I mentioned, is transit right now to ban the production, the selling, and the commercialization of single-use plastics by 2025. So that's our main goal. And we reached about 80,000 signs, which is a good number for us as an office. Some of the activities that we could make there was a strike. It was the beginning of our campaign. Our activity to start was a strike. In one of the main streets here in Bogota, where more than 300 people mobilized, and it was very cool because everyone was seeing us and passing by, taking photos, and it was very cool. Then we took a road trip across the Atlantic beaches, the Atlantic coast, visiting 3 of the main beaches here in Colombia: Santa Marta, Cartagena, Barranquilla. We did some good photos, cleaning up all the plastics in that beaches, diving into the ocean to see how many waste were there, and to show the problem. I think it is similar work that Greenpeace Israel has been working on. You can correct me, Caroline, but it was a good experience. And what else? We made some activities about the recycling activities, showing the break free from plastics, and all the volunteers were there, and it was amazing. Then we did like a good video. It is called Extinction Museum, something that identified us as an office, and we wanted to position our organization is to break the mold and use innovation ways to make campaigns and concepts. So that's our goal that was our goal with the museum extinction idea. Usually when you go to a museum, we are used to go seeing extinct animals and all the things that are past, but right now we didn't have it. And with that idea in mind, we managed to make a museum where the extinct are the brands, but the plastic is still remain. So we made like an exposition about for 3 or 4 days, and people went there to see the brands, the products, but only the waste is there. So it is time for our first video. So I'm gonna stop to share my screen so you can see the video. There are very well-known
Bienvenido
brands
a
here, but as I mentioned, they are no longer in the market, so they are probably in the belly of a whale or our beaches, and we want to show that in that video and in that museum. So yes, I don't know, Caroline, if you have any questions by now, or if you want to comment anything.
Sure. Thank you, Tati. I really loved that video. I think it's so interesting and so engaging. Like you said, normally we go to a museum, we see dinosaurs, we see animals that are extinct. But really, if we think about it, the plastic that we're purchasing today in 2020, it's still going to be in 450 years. So the purchase that the plastic that we bought 50 years ago, you know, it's still on our planet today. So really great production. I really enjoyed that video. I hope everyone else did as well. So I guess the question that comes to my mind is, I want to know, how did your audience react? How did your followers react? Did everyone say, wow, this is really great? Or did some people say, oh no, did you face any challenges? So maybe just talk about how the video was accepted in Colombia.
People were quite receptive to our campaign, and the way we were doing it seems interesting for them. It was very a hard work to put that museum on, but it was quite receptive for our people. And also, these questions has a lot to do with our throwaway culture that is deeply in our culture. No, it is also related to the marketing strategies that use doing a good production when the brand is everywhere, but they don't think what would happen next when we throw the product. So it's an invitation to think and to try to change our way of consuming and make it much more environmentally friendly, and think what we are buying, and be conscious that it would end in another part of the chain.
Yeah,
So
really. Thank you so much. Really loved the video.
yeah.
That's really great. And you mentioned you actually have a quite similar campaign in Colombia, which is really interesting because we're kind of following that campaign as well. So
Yes.
as I mentioned at the beginning, so we want to target Gila Gamiel, Minister of Environmental Protection, because we want a law against single-use plastics. So in this way, it's very similar. And
Yes.
you said you had 88,000 signatures. So that's quite a significant amount of signatures.
Sure.
I'm wondering, have you been doing anything this year, or do you have anything planned for next year? Where is the law right now? So yes, everybody can sign a petition, but what's the next stage now in Colombia?
At this moment, the law is in transit to the government, and all the congressmen are debating it. And we think that the law and the prohibition of the single-use plastic here in Colombia is going to be happen by 2025. But I insist, and as I mentioned before, the government is one of many people in the chain of single-use plastics. Yes, we think that is very important to push, to the governments and obviously the minister in this case. But we know that we need to do other pressure, other push, and other pressure in other part of the chain, such as the retailers and the producers, and also we as a consumers. But yes, that's the answer that I can tell you. Right now, in this moment, the law is in transit to the government, and we hope that by the 2025 we can have that victory for us.
Great. That's really exciting news to hear because we just started our plastic campaign. We're just getting our petition going. So everyone who wants to support a plastic ban, please do sign a petition because as we just heard from Tatiana, it does get moved on to the next stage, and then we can also hopefully get a law implemented here in Israel. So Tatiana, I'm going to invite you to share your screen again to continue the presentation. And just while you do that, I wanted to mention again, because you said, it's not just the government, it's the consumers as well. So I just want to tell everybody that, we really have to move from a single-use mindset to a reusable and a refillable mindset. So it's also in the consumer's hand. We have the purchasing power. Do we want to buy that bottled water in a plastic bottle? Do we want to buy, our hummus in a plastic container? There's all of these steps that a consumer also needs to think about. And then you also mentioned, the retailer. So there's a lot of different actors within the whole process. So, okay, you're all ready. So I hand it back to you. Thank you.
Okay. So yes, please sign the petitions, and I'm really glad to know that the campaign is similar here to there. So maybe it is because we are part of the same organization. So yes, for the stage 2 of our campaign, it was in 2019, the last year, and we wanted to focus on retailers right now, on this specific actor, and the nonsense and the ridiculous of the fruit and vegetables packaging in plastic. So Also, we wanted to promote the reuse culture, to be conscious citizens, as I mentioned. And based on that, we launched a new stage of the campaign called Mute the Fruit or Desnuda la Fruta, which is very funny name, but it is attractive. I mean, we reached about 27,000 signs. So if you make the math, it is about 100 or more, 100,000 or more signs. So it was very interesting and very good for us as an office. Some of the activities that we could make was in front of one of the retailers' store. We dress up as a fruits and we started dance and sing and make a parade, doing our call, obviously our petition, and it was very funny and unique, as you can see in that picture. Also, we visited some restaurants and make some videos to try to evidence and show the reuse initiatives that they are promoting, such as bring your own bottle and you can have a free beverage, for example. That was in one restaurant, and in another they don't use anymore the straws, so no one can have a straw, and only you can use your drink. And what else? We made another video called Savage Plastic Video that I will tell you more about it in a little bit. And what else? We went to return all the plastic that the retailer had generated as a call to the retailer. And also we in that activity we wanted to show the direct relationship between climate change, emissions, greenhouse gases emissions, and the plastics. So that was another activity that we make. And yeah, that's the video that I want to tell you more. It is that's the story. This is the story about the video. The retailer has a highly acclaimed and award-winning documentary called Colombia Savage Magic or Colombia Magia Salvaje, and it is about nature. And also in that documentary they show us the biodiversity that we have in my country and in the world. Was very beautiful and acclaimed documentary. So with that in mind, we wanted to do like a parody of the trailers and the documentary, focusing and emphasizing the amount of plastics and waste that this retailer uh, is regenerate to our planet. So we also wanted to play with the meaning of the retailer's name that is called Éxito, which means in English success. So we wanted to parodize that. So I'm gonna stop to share my screen so you can see the other video. Savage Plastic.
Bienvenido a Colombia, un paraíso perdido. Solo que olvidaron decir perdido entre el plástico. Esto será plástico salvaje si no hacemos algo ahora. Pídele al éxito que elimine el plástico de un solo uso para que el paraíso no se pierda.
Can you see it? So what do you think, Caroline?
Wow, thank you for showing us. So I think if I understand that correctly, so this was a trailer you guys made to, you know, instead of a movie trailer and, you know, highlight, you know, all the nice things, it's a parody, you know, showing that Colombia is not a paradise, because look at all of this plastic in these beautiful locations, you know, plastic on the beaches, plastic in the ocean. So I think that that's really nice that you made that, you know, that parody of it. Really interesting, actually. Did you get good feedback from your supporters?
Yes.
Great,
And
that's
also
fabulous.
because the retailer is very proud of that documentary. So we said no. Yes, it is good and it's very beautiful, but you are not consequentes. Yes,
Great.
with consequent with the call that you are doing with that documentary. So it was very funny. We had that voice that you listened. It's one very important person here in Colombia. He is Pirri, and it's very an important person here. So he helped us and was very enthusiastic to do
Great.
that parody. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing all those videos. So I wanted to address something. You said, you know, in this campaign, you were talking about, you know, addressing the plastic wrapped around, you know, food, fruit and vegetables and other packaging. So, you know, bearing in mind, we have a health pandemic this year.
Yeah.
Some people say, okay, it's, you know, it's better to have things wrapped in plastic. It's more hygienic. I don't want any contamination. So there's one school of thought that says it's more hygienic. Then the other school of thought says, oh, but you have to wrap your cucumber and your aubergine and your potato and your apple in plastic wrap so that it is fresher for longer. So they're saying if you wrap your food in plastic, you know, you don't do food waste. So what can you tell me about that? Is there an argument? Is it more hygienic? Are we gonna stop food waste? What is your take on this?
Yeah, I can say one thing first. And there are some studies that shows us that even some viruses and bacteria can last more time in plastic than in other materials, such as paper or aluminum. None of us was counting that also that the world see in the disposable items of single-use plastics as a false way to avoid contagious, because some studies shows us that it's very I mean, the viruses and bacteria can last in the plastics. So that's like an answer that can do right now. And other thing that I think is that plastic packaging is used to protect the fruit so that they can last longer. But why shouldn't we buy fruits or vegetables packaging in other kind of packages that are more sustainable with the planet? So it depends of the way in which food is preserved, I think, and the cold chain. But there are definitely other ways that are more environmentally friendly. Yes, it is a little more cost, but I think it's more efficient than plastic, if I can say. So I don't know if I can solve your answers, but I think that one is there are some studies that says that viruses and bacteria can last more in plastics, and the other thing is that we can make more sustainable choices to buy and preserve vegetables and fruits.
Great. Thank you so much for that answer. If anyone has any questions or comments, then please leave any below. Otherwise, I think I might ask you a final question as we're coming towards the end of our webinar now. So before I ask you that question, I just want to reinforce and emphasize that, you know, it's really in the consumer's hand that we switch from a single use to a reuse mindset. Or if you go into your supermarket and you see apples wrapped in plastic, and then you see apples that are not wrapped in plastic, just think about, okay, this plastic was made from oil. It's a fossil fuel. It's helping the climate change in a negative way. I'm using this plastic to unwrap the apple, which has a natural protective layer anyway. So do I really need this plastic? And then you're only going to use the plastic for 1 second, a one-time use, and then you're going to throw it away or recycle it. And then where does this plastic go? So either it gets recycled, or it probably won't get recycled, or it will land up in the ocean. And then it might not disintegrate, so microplastics will happen. So I think what I'm asking the viewers and everyone is think about the plastic before you use it and after, really the whole life cycle of the plastic. And you as the consumer, you only use it for one time. So I think my last question to you is, we're telling everyone to move to a reusable mindset. So can you tell us, in Colombia specifically, are there reusable supermarkets or like refill stations? Are people, are they going to these kind of supermarkets? Are they bringing their own reusable bag, their reusable coffee cup? Just, I'd love to hear about that. And then I think we'll end it at that. So back to you.
All of that you mentioned, we are doing right now in a minimum scale, but we are starting to do so. There are some local markets that only receive clients that have his tote bags, his own bags, so they can make their markets, their buyings. And all another things that all another organization is doing right now is that they are reinvent the way that they are packaging their products, so it's less plastics, and they are using another materials. Also they are doing like a refill stations in the markets, so the people can buy the amount of product that they need. They are not limited by certain kind of package. So yeah, they are we are trying to do so more often, our buyings, but there is a small a small size that we are doing right now. And then what we were mentioned before, it's we are trying to push that law, because we know that the government is very important actor here in this chain. And we also like the natural and parks and national parks are prohibited all the single-use plastic, so ninguna persona, no one can bring there or single-use plastics, basically.
Great. That's really encouraging to hear. You know, it starts small. So, you know, I think just, you know, to end this whole webinar about plastics and in the supermarket, you know, bring your reusable bag, bring your reusable cup, you know, as much as you can. Go to a fresh market to buy your vegetables and your fruit. Try to avoid plastic packaging. And yeah, I think every step counts. You know, sign the petition, bring your reusable bag. It's these small steps that we encourage. So with that, I would really like to thank you, Tatiana. Thank you so much for explaining your campaign. The videos were really interesting. So yeah, that's it from my side. And I just want to say, so next week we have our last webinar, which will be in Hebrew. So we have Hanukkah in Israel next week. So it's going to be a special webinar focusing on with a rabbi focusing on plastic, consumerism, and Judaism. So really interesting what the influence is of Judaism and, you know, how much plastic does one use if you're maybe slightly more religious. And then we're just going to open that conversation. So really interesting conversation we're going to have. So yeah, I hope you guys tune in. Please sign our petition if you're interested to support a single-use plastic ban. And once again, Tatiana, thank you so much for joining us today from Colombia. Thank you. Muchas
all
gracias.
the information has been relevant to you. Nice to meet you and participate with you in this webinar. And also congratulations with all the campaign that you are doing there in plastics. And I don't know. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Tatiana. Adios.
Bye.
Bye. And love, everybody.